playing for me, or am I playing to prove the guys wrong that I can make it? To prove to them that I can make it, that they were wrong about me, I can make it. And I went on to play at a higher level, you know, and longer than most of the guys that were more talented in high school, you know. But once I knew that I was playing for them and nobody cares, they don't care. You know, when you get to a certain age, no one cares. They just want to know if you're good, you all right, how you doing? No one cares. And I was like, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for you that ain't even thinking about me. And that's when I stopped playing ball. You know, I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I need to figure out what it is that I want to do. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where were you at when you came to that realization? Like where were you living?
I was in San Diego. Yeah, I was in San Diego, in Linda Vista, San Diego, living with my auntie, my homeboy Antoine, her husband, her boyfriend, and the husband had a girlfriend on the side that stayed up the street. Shout out to my auntie though, you know. Shout out to my auntie, but yeah, that was a time in my life, but I was chasing that dream, you know, trying to figure it out.
And the dream changed.
The dream changed, you know, and then come to find out when I started acting, my father told me that, you know, that's what he always wanted to do. He used to fall asleep in movie theaters when he was 6 years old. So the acting is in the genes. Now, have I trained? Yes. You know what I mean? But there's something in me that was passed from my father to me. So that gives me a little more edge, you know. But that's the process. You know, if I hadn't played ball, if I didn't get cut from the basketball team, if people didn't make fun of me at the time, you know what I'm saying, it wouldn't have created the drive in me that I had. So when I turned what can seem to be negative, I flipped it into a positive. You know, but once I got into who I am, and I just felt like I love myself, and I wouldn't change any of the experiences. I wouldn't change my knees being better and all that, because that would have took me on another journey, another phase. But all that built me. You know what I'm saying? When I was that stone,
yeah,
you know, those situations, those experiences cut away at me. You know, boom, 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 boom. And the more I became who I am, that's why, you know, when you think about this, but when, you know, Adam is in the garden, you know, God gave him work. You know, and work is not just to be at a 9 to 5. Work means ergon, which means to become. You know what I'm saying? Work to become who you're meant to be. You know, to become. So constantly I'm working to become. What does that becoming for me looks like at 40 is different what it looks like now in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Man, so you said a couple different things there. One of them was you're talking about motivation.
Mm-hmm.
When did you realize that you were motivated by being picked last, by struggling in high school sports? Was that last year? Was that a couple years ago? Like, what did you know back then?
Yeah, I remember riding my bike. Now I was trying to make my legs bigger, so I would ride my bike to. I worked at Safeway. I rode my bike to Safeway, you know, and then I would go to a little court that was by King Street, and I would just play, you know, by myself, working on my game, you know. You know, it just fueled me, man. It just really fueled me to, you know, no one likes to get laughed at, you know what I mean? And again, I'm gonna make you motherfuckers pay. You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset that I was on, you know, and it worked for a long period of time, you know, and it created a drive in me, you know, to work hard. But then once I let go of, I'm not doing it to prove you guys wrong, you know what I mean? Then it had to change to, what do I really want?
Yeah.
So when you were asking, like, what keeps you going, you know, to me is to have the vision. You know, why am I thinking about these things if I can't do them? You know, and I go into these places that people have created, even the place that we sitting in now. This is someone's idea, and I want my own ideas. I want to bring them to life. You know, I want to know what that feels like. Just like, you know, you at Nike, you're at a place that was Phil's idea. You know what I mean? And now you're making it, you know, your own, and what you're gonna bring to the company. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But what about you? Like, what fueled you like growing up?
I think
Being an only child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So there's a couple different things. I always tell people that every sort of piece of criticism, it motivated me along the way, because I was extremely insecure, extremely self-conscious of any sort of criticism. In college, I studied engineering in college, and I remember being a freshman, one of my professors, it was towards the end of the semester, and it was one of these things, or it was the middle of the semester, and it was, you need to get, your grade right now is about a C minus, and you need to get straight A's or hundreds on all the rest of your exams to even be eligible for an A or a B in the course. And it was at that point where you can drop a class. And I went to him and I talked to him about my situation and everything, and he just was like, you know what, I don't think that you're meant to be an engineer. I don't think that this is, the right thing for you. And that motivated me as a freshman. That motivated me to finish. So and probably for the first 5 to 6 years of my career, it was really about proving him wrong, and everybody else that I was in class with. That was just like, why is he here? He shouldn't be here. Go study something else, man. Engineering isn't right for you because the rest of the room doesn't look like you. So we don't need anybody with the crazy hair or the crazy pants or anything like that. The guy who's outspoken about all the mathematical equations and wants to challenge everything and wants to really look at it that way. So for a very long time, I was about proving him wrong. And I found that on this journey to get to Nike and for people to be like, tell me what your story is. For a while, my story that I would tell people, that I would tell myself, is that I'm motivated by the naysayers. When I took a deeper look at it, and I said, hey, forget college, because college is the byproduct of these things that happened at a younger age. So I could be motivated by criticism in college, but where did that originally come from? And growing up as an only child is part of it. The other part of it is that my mother had me my mother was pregnant with me. She was probably 7 or 8 months pregnant with me, and my father came home to the apartment, and they're both at home, and somebody called the apartment, and my mom picked up the phone, and somebody was talking wild on the phone to her, and she was just like, what's this? And my pops grabbed the phone and was like, who is this? Oh, I know who this is. Where are you at right now? Hung up the phone, went straight to the bar where homeboy was at, grabbed a crowbar, and just started mollywopping him to about an inch, within an inch of his life. Almost killed him. He comes running back to my mom, bloody shirt, bloody this, bloody that, and he's like, we got to go to DC tonight. I got to see my grandma or his mother. I got to see him because I'm getting ready to go to jail. And my mom was 8 months pregnant with me. So they hop in the car and they drive down 95, and my dad's driving and my mom is throwing bloody clothes out of the car. Get to DC. He sees his parents. He comes back. He gets arrested. He goes to jail. He's in jail until I think I was 2.5 when he got out of jail. The first time I met my father was in a bar. And that's a memory that I have with me. And that's
how old were you?
2.
2. Oh, 2.5. First thing in front of. Okay.
Yeah. So he got out of jail. I want to see my son, and my mom's like, okay, where do you want us to meet you? He says, I want y'all to meet me here. And what happened the first time was that he didn't show up. Now this is 1982, and this is when you had to pick up a payphone and call somebody. There weren't even that many answering machines. And my mom at the time was on welfare, and she would be like, okay, we're gonna meet you there at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Bundle me up, put me on the bus, take me all the way down to somewhere in Philadelphia, wait somewhere on a corner, 3 o'clock, 3:15, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then we go home, and my mom's like, well, he didn't show up, and then he'll call and be like, oh, I got caught up with this, let's try again tomorrow. And then the next day comes, and the same thing happens, and then the third time my wife is like, my mom is like, either you come or you're not going to be able to have a relationship with your son. And he finally showed up, but after that first visit, when we went to a bar I think I might have seen him 2 or 3 other times after that, and then he moved back down to DC, and I had a very distant relationship with my father growing up. So the things that motivate me right now are to right those wrongs that my father did to me, not only from a father-son perspective, but just from a life perspective. I have a lot of the same anger issues that my father had, and the way that I get around those anger issues is by working through things, whether it's becoming more mindful of my actions, to really set goals for myself. Because I asked my mom, my father passed away right after I graduated college, and I asked my mom about my father, and she was, hey, he was a printer, he was a salesman on the street. He had a streetcar, and he'd sell you a hat one day, and he would sell you, a little trinket the next day, and he never realized his full potential. And I think that really motivated me. After he passed away, I said, you know what, I need to make my life something that's remarkable. And that was right around the same time when he passed away. That was when I was in that whole phase of, I'm motivated by this professor that told me that I wasn't going to be an engineer. And then it flipped after my father died, and it was just like, well, you know what? That motivation really came from this animosity, or this like wanting to have a father being there, knowing him, but him not wanting to be around me. And I think subconsciously it's like he doesn't feel worthy to be around me, but you don't find that out until after he passes away. But that whole time you're thinking that you're not worthy enough to be around him.
Did you get to see him before he passed?
I did not get to see him before he passed. He was one of the most important moments in my life was 1998 when I graduated high school. He came to my high school graduation, and I still look at that as one of my greatest accomplishments, was graduating high school, because a lot of people of color don't get an opportunity to graduate high school. And not only that, but my mother and my father got to see me graduate high school. So I went all through college, and he was watching from afar as I was studying mechanical engineering, as I was struggling. And it really would have been beneficial to me if I would have had his voice when I was struggling through college, to say, hey, stay on the path, give me one of these analogies that we come up with. That would have been so beneficial to me going through college. So all that being said, is after he passed away, I wanted to live the most impactful, profound existence that I could. Because when I went to his funeral and saw him and saw the people that wanted to give him the last farewell, and they met me for the first time, and they said, oh, you look just like your dad talked about you all the time, he was so proud of you. And when people went up there to talk about my father, they eventually talked about me, because my father was in jail. He had substance abuse issues, he had a multitude of health issues, he never really held down a steady job for most of his life. So you think about it like that, and then I looked at that and I was like, okay, I need to get me a good paying, a well-paying job. I need to travel the world. I need to be able to impact other people. When it comes time for me to have children, I need to be 100 times better father than what I was able to have. But that's the beauty of it, is that because he wasn't there, that just made me much stronger of a father right now. And that much.
You're a great father, by the way. Yeah, you're a great father.
So yeah, that's really what motivates me. That's still what motivates me today. I think in talking about my journey to Nike, I tell people the story about when I'm this 10-year-old kid and I have a job. I'm bringing home money, because at the time my mom, she worked herself through nursing school to become a nurse. She actually failed the board exam, and that devastated her. But she ended up becoming a nurse, and throughout that whole process, I got a job. I had a paper route, and I did all this kind of stuff, and it was time to buy sneakers. And when I was 10 years old, I saw some sneakers and my mom was like, okay, if you want that Air Jordan 5, you're going to need to put down at least half. And I'll let you, whatever shoe you want, I'll give you half the money for it. So I was like, okay, I need to come up with the money to get this Jordan 5. And I got the Air Jordan 5. And when I first saw it, I saw this 3M reflective tongue, and I saw these quarter panels on the side of the shoe that had this mesh, and I saw this outsole that was translucent, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I bought them, and I sat there and looked at them. I would put them under my bed and turn the light on so that you could see the shininess, because it was a little bit of light and it would reflect off, and I would hold the shoe and try to tilt it